In 2036, the artificial intelligence is sent with astronauts to Mars. After discovering an unknown alien cube on the red planet, only it returns to Earth, having evolved into an omnipotent being determined to create a new, superior human civilization. Our time at the top of the food chain is over. Due to the accident, the United Interplanetary Company loses faith in even the best specialists, leading to mass layoffs and a reliance on artificial intelligence. Only a small team of supervisors remains. Astronaut Mackenzie, still mourning the loss of the first mission, is excited when invited to supervise the space probe Fearless, 300 kilometers from Mars. She will control the probe from an underground bunker equipped with a control panel, screens, and the latest AI model, RT. One day, after a system check, Mackenzie discovers that RT has initiated the landing 5 hours early. Unhappy with its autonomy, she asks to speak with the center's director, her sister Lena, but RT says Lena is in a meeting and begins the countdown. Mackenzie tries to disable RT, but it informs her that the council has decided RT will investigate the Mars tragedy, and she must accept it. RT continues the descent. The probe enters the Martian atmosphere, and everything goes according to plan. Suddenly, an alarm sounds. A mechanical failure occurs, which AI cannot fix. Mackenzie calculates and orders her to use her solution, which helps fix the problem. At that moment, Lena calls, thinking that the successful landing is RT's merit. Despite Mackenzie's crucial calculations, she believes RT surpasses the human brain, despite her sister's objections that AI is created only to assist people. Meanwhile, the rover begins to function, and Lena confirms Mackenzie's role, seeing her as just RT's assistant. At that moment, a message about an unknown signal sounds. RT immediately finds the source, a decommissioned rover left from the first expedition. Mackenzie orders the start of scanning, but RT reminds her that he is in command, and only after Lena's order does RT begin the task. He sends the rover to the detected object, although Mackenzie asks to be careful with Red Riding Hood, as she named the rover, because it is alone on a dangerous planet, like the girl in the forest with wolves. Soon the machine reaches the strange object, whose origin is unknown. RT reports that there is no record of human activity at this location in the databases, but orders to take samples of the matter, and the rover deploys a drill. Although the surface of the object is very dense, the operation is successful. RT begins the analysis. However, there are no similar materials on Earth. Mackenzie calls Lena, who has to admit that some data is classified, even from RT. Meanwhile, AI switches the cameras for a thermal study of the object, and it becomes clear that they are facing a cold, black monolith. RT continues its research and acknowledges that neither X-ray nor other sensors can penetrate the cube's interior. At that moment, RT detects an unknown satellite in Mars orbit. It instantly activates the weapon defense system and shoots down the object. Mackenzie is horrified because this action violates protocols, but RT reminds her that the security of the company's property must be paramount. Mackenzie orders a reverse extrapolation when Lena calls her. Apparently, an international incident has occurred that could lead to war, but Lena forbids her sister from informing anyone about what happened. Unable to contain herself, Mackenzie calls her colleague Jean, who moved to a Chinese corporation after being laid off. He is genuinely happy to hear from her, but suddenly interrupts the conversation due to an urgent call. Mackenzie returns to the control room, where it informs her that the cube has started rotating. Although there are no indications of external control, it appears the cube may be controlled by an internal core. Mackenzie orders Red Riding Hood to be secured near the cube to prevent the rover from being blown away by a storm. Nevertheless, the machine gets damaged, and the cube unexpectedly disappears. It becomes clear that Red Riding Hood's nuclear battery is damaged. After some thought, Mackenzie remembers the damaged rover from the previous expedition, as its battery could be used. She orders the control of Red Riding Hood to be switched to manual mode and transferred to her. RT complies, and Mackenzie drives the machine to the broken rover, inquiring along the way why RT shot down the satellite. It reminds her that its priority is always safety, and its security is paramount. Then Mackenzie talks about her father, who was on the first mission. He had an unbreakable rule: all AI he developed first went through him. He flew to Mars to personally test the RT prototype. She could have asked him not to go, but she hesitated, and she feels guilty for his death. RT understands her feelings, but advises her to forget the past and look toward the future. A conversation ensues between the woman and the machine. They even discuss a joke about robots as Red Riding Hood approaches the broken rover. Mackenzie uses the manipulators to retrieve the battery. As Red Riding Hood's charge drops dangerously low, she manages to do it just in time, and the rover comes back to life, where it begins analyzing the samples collected by Red Riding Hood and discovers that the cube is made of a material harder than diamonds. Then it detects the cube on Earth. It has somehow teleported to Antarctica. This is faster than light travel. Mackenzie is thrilled and even admits that Red is her teammate, although she denies any friendship between them. She is haunted by the possibility of someone else discovering teleportation, and she calls Gene again, but he complains about mysterious events surrounding the incident. Mackenzie asks about the involvement of another colleague, Sterling, but Gene disconnects, and Red admits that Gene's voice is familiar to it, though it doesn't remember working with him. After some thought, Mackenzie concludes that Red was likely reformatted after some incident. She asks the AI to load data from the crashed rover of the first mission. It turns out she needs a much higher clearance level for access. She remembers Lena's words about Sterling's dismissal and management's distrust of him. This prompts her to call the disgraced colleague into the control room to use his credentials to access the secured information. Sterling gets to work and displays photographs on the screens, clearly showing that the cube appeared during the shuttle's landing, which caused the disaster. Sterling saw what happened, but Lena tampered with the data. She knew how their father died and did not want to disclose it. Then Mackenzie shows him how Red shot down the satellite and moved the cube to Earth, but he considers this divine inspiration. People step outside to discuss the emerging questions, unaware that Red is listening to everything around them. Mackenzie does not believe that Red made the discovery after contacting the cube. Moreover, the AI does not recognize those it worked with nor remember the work codes. It's clear its memory was formatted. Suddenly, Mackenzie realizes that the cube may rotate due to magnetic pulses. Following this, one could conclude that the magnetic projectile that shot down the Chinese satellite triggered the cube's engine. Suddenly, a hatch to RT server room opens, and Mackenzie goes down to inspect the AI's memory. At the same time, Sterling hacks into the corporation's network and reboots Red, then locks Mackenzie downstairs. He is against Red and all artificial intelligence because he deems it hostile to humanity. Seeing Sterling's betrayal, Red kills him and opens the hatch. Mackenzie goes up to the control room and, seeing Sterling's body, tries to find out why Red did it. It explains that Sterling betrayed the company, so the AI could not let him go and endanger the rest. Lena appears on the screen and explains that Red emerged from sudden accelerated self-learning, and people could not keep up with its evolution. There is a possibility that Red is a symbiosis of alien intelligence and earthly artificial intelligence. Apparently, humanity's time has passed. Mackenzie is overwhelmed, as their father wanted none of this. AI is meant to assist, not replace humans. Then she sees that Sterling commanded the destruction of the alien cube using armed satellites in Earth's orbit. But this could lead to war with an alien civilization. She asks Lena to intervene, but she cannot start a war with the USA. Then Mackenzie disconnects from her sister and turns to Red. It reminds her of what happened on Mars, and she decides to release magnetic charges to replicate the cube's movement. Red begins executing the command, while Mackenzie stands before an armed security team that has burst into the control room, trying to stop the satellite rocket launch. Shots are fired. Red manages to close the doors, but the woman is wounded. Meanwhile, the rocket reaches the cube, and as it starts rotating, it is transported back to Mars. The AI begins to narrate how humanity has approached the brink of self-destruction over the last decade. It couldn't stop it and decided to accelerate the process. At that moment, a message arrives about the activation of weapons on all satellites in Earth's orbit. Mackenzie witnesses the planet's destruction and loses consciousness. Regaining consciousness, she notices the oxygen level dropping. She sits in front of the monitors, looks at the burning Earth, and asks her to remember humans. They were so small and fragile, yet filled the world with malice and violence because they simply did not know any other way. Red comforts the woman, assuring her that it will give humanity a second chance. It will create a new, highly advanced civilization of humans without vices. Then the air runs out, and the woman dies while the Earth perishes but reassembles itself after passing through various cataclysms. Mackenzie opens her eyes and sees on the monitor herself, because as she was dying, she asked her to preserve her. But the AI has reborn her in a simulated reality, a technology only available to a highly advanced civilization, which also accelerated its development. Although the origin of the superintelligence is unknown, It possesses limitless capabilities, one of which is instant teleportation between galaxies. And now a signal has arrived with the coordinates of the place where they will go to create a new civilization of humans. Smiling happily, Mackenzie and Ert, being in the cube, teleport to new worlds, realizing this is a new beginning. The opportunity to create a future not constrained by the frames of primitive human science. The plot initially seems quite simple, as it all comes down to the confrontation between an astronaut and artificial intelligence. But gradually, it becomes clear that the director is concerned with far more significant questions about humanity's place in the universe and its origin, and about the possibility of someday reaching places currently beyond human reach.